In this video, I will prepare a quick and delicious meal with hearty polenta and bacon and savory vegetables. Hi, and welcome to the channel where I will be cooking good food as well as counting carbohydrates. My name's Elizabeth. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and for those of us with type 1 diabetes, we can eat anything we want without restriction. So I will be preparing a wide variety of normal, tasty food, and then showing you how to count carbs to determine insulin requirements for the dish. So please stick around until the end, because we'll sit down together and rock and bolus, and of course, count carbs. The ingredients for this dish are mushrooms, carrots, onions, spinach, garlic, white wine, butter, olive oil, polenta, salt, Jarlic, Parmesan cheese, bacon, and barbecue sauce. I'm cooking my bacon, but before I do, I'm going to cut each slice into smaller pieces about 1 inch long. You can cut more than one piece at a time, and as it heats up, they'll separate automatically. And when you've got everything in the pan, turn your heat on to medium-high. Periodically stir the bacon. Be careful, this will splatter. To remove from the pan, I put several layers of paper towels on a plate and then remove the cooked bacon pieces from the pan with a slotted spoon. Let the bacon drain on the towels. Place another paper towel over the top and then roll up to absorb all of the grease that you don't necessarily need to consume. Polenta is very easy to make. I'm adding 4 cups of water to my pan. I then add in 1 cup of polenta. I'm frequently asked what kind of polenta or cornmeal to use. My favorite kind of polenta to use is Bob's Red Mill. I then add in a tablespoon of garlic from a jar. I do add in about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Even though you don't need the salt, you will miss it if not added, in my opinion. However, if you're following a more strict no added sodium diet, then simply don't add it in. Once the water boils, turn the heat down to low and cover with a lid. This mixture will splatter, so be careful when removing that lid to stir. Cook for around 5 to 8 minutes, periodically stirring. You may need to add more water if it seems like the polenta hasn't quite finished cooking yet or got too thick too soon. When the pot is done cooking, turn off the heat and stir in 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. Then set the cooked polenta aside until you're ready for it. I enjoy chopping, but if it's not your thing or you need to save time, purchase vegetables that are pre-sliced and chopped. First up are the onions. Separate the skin from the onion, cut in half, and slice. Turn 90 degrees and slice again. Easy peasy. Next up, carrots. I like Matchstick carrots. Create your own by thinly slicing through a stack. Repeat this until you have your desired amount. Separate the skin from your cloves of garlic by smashing and then peeling. I slice the garlic into thin slices by using my handheld mandolin. By the way, this is my happy face. Spinach is up next. For this dish, I think that smaller pieces of spinach are best. Create a stack, cut off stems, roll up, and then thinly slice using scissors. Voila! You have strips of julienned spinach. For the mushrooms, after washing, I trim off the ends and then cut each mushroom in half. Since I want the mushrooms to be the primary vegetable of this dish, I'm actually using larger chunks. Most of these mushrooms I simply quartered. Melt 2 tablespoons of butter with 1 tablespoon of olive oil in a pan. Begin adding the chopped vegetables. Onions, carrots, and garlic. Saute these veggies for about 2 minutes and then add the mushrooms to the pan. Pop a lid on this. Turn your heat down to medium-high. Periodically remove the lid and carefully stir the contents of the pan. This will cook down quite a bit. With the sauteing garlic in this dish, your kitchen will start smelling really good at about this point. Add the spinach last, stir, and let your spinach cook down. Increase the pan to a high heat, add the wine, and let the alcohol cook off before adding anything else. Then turn the heat back to medium. Wine is such an easy way to add flavor to a dish. Don't be afraid to use it. Since this is intended to be a butter sauce, I added another 2 tablespoons of butter at this point. Stir and let it melt. Add fresh ground pepper, seasoned to your liking. You could add salt at this point, but you know the saying, you don't need it and you won't miss it in the veggies. Plus, I already added some to the polenta. Put the polenta on a plate. Add the sauteed veggies, drizzle on some barbecue sauce, top with bacon, and enjoy. Before I begin the actual carb count, let me say that I am not a medical professional. I am just a human being who happens to wear my pancreas in my pocket, and I also happen to have years of living with type 1 diabetes. If you do have a medical question, please consult your diabetic care team. Let's begin the carb count for the polenta and bacon with sauteed mushrooms in a wine sauce. There will be some math involved, but don't worry, it's not that hard. Polenta, 32 grams of carbohydrates per serving. Water, there was no carbohydrates in that. The Jarlic had 3 grams of carbs per serving. Parmesan cheese, 0. Mushrooms, 4 grams. Carrots, 2.5 grams. Onion, 2 grams. Garlic, 2 grams. White wine, 1 gram. Spinach, 0 grams. Butter, 0 grams. Olive oil, 0 grams. The barbecue sauce had 7 grams per serving. The bacon had 0 grams of carbohydrates. Now, you add all these columns up and you'll have 35 grams of carbohydrates in the polenta. You have 11.5 grams in the vegetable sauce, and you have 7 grams with just the barbecue sauce, and it comes out to 53.5 grams of carbohydrates per serving. Once you have your final carbohydrate count for your serving, you will need to divide this number by your carb ratio number. For instance, if I use my carb ratio of 1 to 15, 53.5 divided by 15 is equal to 3.6 units of insulin needed for me to keep my blood sugar within a normal range. Happy carb counting, and remember, my fellow type 1s, counting carbs so our pancreas doesn't have to, one meal at a time.